Is it Happy Easter? Not if you're a Raven Guard. Oh gosh, that's just done a green screen thing behind me. So I just did a fighting fantasy live, and look what happens if you put retouch on. How funny. Yeah, I just did a live. We were playing fighting fantasy, and I was kind of saying to the people who were on the live with me, let me set this up so it doesn't fall over. Is it going to fall? Better not do that. I was saying I'm really worried because Raven Guard have suffered hideous losses, and it's a really sneaky Alpha Legion called Alfarius, of course, sneaking about now, and he stole a face of a newly dead Raven Guard soldier on Istvan and smuggled himself back to the rest of the Raven Guard community, and he has an implant in his spine so he can be in contact with Amagon, who is a horrible little friend of his who's up to no good. But the really painful thing about this book, Deliverance Lost, sorry, it's mirror style, is you get some secrets revealed, and the Emperor has a good conversation with Corax and says, you know, son, I'm going to give you something that can help. I'm going to give you something that can help the war effort. It's a big secret. And the secret is he shares the gene recipe so that the Raven Guard will be able to make new Raven Guard legions, because they were utterly destroyed. Like, so many of their legion died at Honest Van that they need to be able to make new ones to help the Emperor. It's all come to light that Horus is being a git. So you have this really beautiful conversation with the Emperor, and then there's a labyrinth quest. Sorry, spoilers for anyone who hasn't read this book. I think I'm the only one who hasn't read this book. And it was written in, when was it written? It was writ 2012. So it's a fantastic book if you're interested in the Emperor, and there's descriptions of the Emperor and how he changes looks. The Emperor, you know, you get how the Emperor is feeling. And actually, I don't know if it's because this is the first time we've seen the Emperor kind of collaborating with a son or bestowing a favour. So it's just a really hopeful, I don't know why I get hopeful in this bloody bloody heresy. Yes, Mike Schmitz, I think we should save Fulgrim. This is my t-shirt merch, by the way, because Fulgrim's got a demon up him. It wasn't his fault. It kind of was a little bit his fault. But if somebody could just help get the demon out of him, he'd be a nice boy again. He'd be a nice boy. So I said on my live stream tonight, I think because the Alpha Legion are involved, Google it. One of my best Warhammer friends, Jim Historitus Jim Aldous, who has been a mentor on this journey, he loves Alpha Legion. Jim, to all accounts and purposes, is a really nice fella. Robbie, hello. Robbie, are you drunk? I bet you are. You've had a fantastic family evening, I hope. Hello, Robbie. Thank you so much for rebooking your Mirror Manga YouTube channel, Dreadnought. Thank you so much. Anybody who's watching, it's worth getting a YouTube Mirror Manga membership. We're going through the Codex Imperialis. We're going to read that page by page, and you get early access to my author interviews with no ads. Welcome, Robbie. Robbie is one of my faves. Yay, support us since day one. Blazed, the next book is The Death. What is that one called? Fear of something Fear? Or it's a Dan Abnett. I know, I'm looking forward to it. But I'm loving Gav Thorpe's writing. Hello, Teen Wolf. So basically, yeah, there's a sneaky... Oh, Robbie, thank you for the $5. Yay, we can't do our little Google effects here, but thank you. I'm going to do a like on that. Yay, thank you so much. Alpha Legion are sneaky. I was just saying, I love my friend Jim. He's such a kind mentor. He's the one that sends boxes for me and Arbeiter Ian to unbox. But he likes Alpha Legion. As far as I can tell, Alpha Legion are horrible, sneaky, snaky little, twisty, untrustworthy, gaslighting F-boys. So I'm really, really saddened. So on my live tonight, I said to my stream, I'm really worried. I think I've heard, I got spoiled that there is a corruption in the Raven Guard. And this whole storyline, I was thinking, but the Emperor's given them the genes. Like, what can go wrong? What's going to happen? And of course, the Alpha Legion have been messing around. They've picked up the DNA and they have messed with it. They have put in some warp elements. They've made a gene milkshake and they've got that in Corax's centrifuge. Oh, Kittredson, thank you so much. Yay! Oh my goodness. We have had a dreadnought. Yay! We've had a £5 off Robbie and a £5 off Kittred. Maybe I'll put that towards my therapy. Hello, Tony. Late night book update. Yes, because I'm reading. What's happened is Alpharius, with the help of Omegan, has been sent this horrible gene milkshake brew with a warp corruption in it. So they've taken a slice of the warp, put it in there, and the new young Raven Guards, who are young boys from the planet that Corax was confined on, you know, all these really young boys who are being converted to Raven Guard are now messed up. And so I'm reading about the bit when they realise it, and I just thought, there's no way I'm going to go through this alone. So as soon as I saw it coming up, and the reason I detected it is because they were on a routine, well, not routine, a planned for attack, and one of them felt a pain. So if I'm going to have to go through this, these lovely, poor, lovely little baby Raven Guard raptors, you're going to go through it with me, because it's mostly you lot's fault. The community bullied me, well, mostly Ian and Jim, mostly Ian. Actually, Ian advised against this. Anyway, if the Raven Guard are going down, I'm not going to read it on my own. Aztec says, aren't the Alpha Legion like the CIA doing psychological operations? They're doing a psychological number on my brain. So I should probably fill you in. This is the final act of the book. This is page like 317, so like less than 100 pages to go. And the guy we're speaking about, Navar Hef, is a new raptor in the Raven Guard. In the hull of the second rhino in the column, Navar Hef sat on the narrow seat with his bolter across his lap. The transport rocked wildly from side to side as it sped over the uneven ground of the Radfields, but his suit compensated for most of the movement so that he just swayed back and forth a little. This Raven Guard have got new Mark something extra armour with beaks. Fits in Raven Guard. Rapid deployment, 30 seconds, snapped Sergeant Cald. Weapons check. Navar went through a quick inspection of his bolter and grenades. He unhooked the fastener on the sheath of his combat knife and tested the magnetic grips on the spare magazines clamped to his belt and thighs. All was in order, as it had been when he had boarded the Rhino. Stand ready. Tony's written, gonna lose one of their food star ratings for that warp smoothie mistake. Robbie, I'm not sure even the Alpha Legion know what they're up to. They know, well, some of them know. Cald and his 9 raptors stood up and turned towards the rear hatchway. The bumping of the Rhino was more pronounced, but the gyro stabilizers of the Mark 6 armor, new beaky armor, I believe, kept Navar balanced. He took a step backwards as the Rhino trundled to a halt. Oh, Robbie says, I think Mark 4 was beaks. Okay, so Mark 6 is the special new armor they've made. Apologies, sorry. Thank you for correcting me, Robbie. Drop bolts exploded along the sides of the hatch, dropping down the access ramp. Navarre was the fourth out, fanning to the right with 3 other squad members. He saw movement through the doorway of a collapsed building ahead and fired without hesitation. His bolt round found its mark. An arm swathed in bandage-like cloth sent spinning into view. Yuck! Thank you for that visual, Gav Thorpe. An arm swathed in bandage-like cloth sent spinning into view. Mwah. Enemy, 25 metres, secondary arc, Navarre reported breathlessly. The squad reformed without any need for command, laying down a curtain of fire into the rubble of the ruined building, leaving contrails in the ruddy miasma and fist-sized holes in the rockcrete walls. Cease, ordered Cowd. Section 1, move up. Section 2, flank protection. Navarre was in Section 2, so he held his ground and kept watch to the right. The sergeant led his team of 5 men towards the ruins, their black armour almost disappearing in the haze. They were nearly out of sight, no more than 20 metres from the closest broken wall, when light flared through the gloom. An arc of lightning erupted from a stairwell leading down to a basement level, earthing into the lead raptor. Ready? His armour and body exploded, sending bloody fragments of bone and ceramite thudding into the legionaries around him. Navarre had never heard mention of anything like it during the training exercises. Because Navarre has never been in combat, and this is his first run out, and before this he was a really, really young child. Anyway, yes, thank you, Robbie. It was Mark 6. I knew something. See, I should believe in myself. I've never heard of this lightning weapon. I don't think, so far in the heresy. I don't know. Has anyone wielded a lightning weapon before? I'm not sure. Anyway, Emperor's Oath. That's a storm cannon, yelled Cald. Saturation fire. Level that building. Switching his bolter to full automatic, Navarre emptied the remaining bolts from his magazine into the enemy position. The crackle of the detonations just a few flickers amongst the storm that engulfed the stairwell. Behind Navarre, the remote cupola of the Rhino opened up, hammering away with combi bolter fire. As he slapped home another magazine, the raptor's hearts kicked into high combat pulse, flooding his body with adrenal compounds, seeming to slow time as his nervous system surged in response. This is the moment. He's in combat. His special, brand new Space Legion chemicals have kicked in. Note that. Note the time of that. His senses blacked momentarily. When they returned, Navarre saw the fiery trail of a plasma jet streaking through the mist. The Rhino's point defense missile had passed within a metre of him, causing the blackout. It detonated in an airburst just above the insurgents' den, showering white-hot promethium across the stairs and wall. Pull back to the Rhino, said Sergeant Cald, calm and authoritative. The lead team started to withdraw as the promethium melted through the rockcrete, turning it into a dwindling pile of burning slag. That's a new thing. I've never heard of a promethium explosion which can melt through rockcrete. That's a new weapon. Turning it into a dwindling pile of burning slag, which is a fantastic expression. And also, we were talking about Warhammer EastEnders, so slag is a great EastEnders word. Commander Bran, encountering Guild-Tech weapons, we might have a problem. As they return, oh, this is the awful bit. Okay, we're together, we can hold hands through this. As they returned, one of the surviving raptors from the forward section stumbled. At first, Navarre thought he'd just lost his footing. But as the raptor pushed himself to his knees, he spasmed violently, his bolter flying from his grasp. We know what's happening, they don't. Navarre had not seen any weapons fire, and his first thought was of some unknown Guild-Tech the sergeant had not warned them about. Just as he thought this, Navarre heard grunting over the squad Vox link and turned to see the raptor to his right falling to one knee, his head rocking madly forwards and back. Tightness gripped Navarre's chest. It reminded him of the sensation of fear he used to feel before his transformation, although he felt no dread attached to the cramping, because once you're a Space Marine, you don't feel fear. A sudden burning shot up his spine, causing Navarre to gasp with pain. He tried to fight the urge to crouch his legs. He tried to fight the urge to crouch. His legs and pelvis felt as if they'd been shattered. Whew. Hef, Laster, Devore. He didn't recognise the voice, but the panic it conveyed was something he had never expected to hear from a Raven Guard. The raptor realised he'd fallen to his knees and looked up to see Sergeant Cowles standing over him, looking rapidly to the left and right. Another surge of flaming agony roared across Navarre's chest, his muscles contorting, throwing him to his back. He couldn't help the scream that erupted from him. He smelled and tasted blood inside his helm. Sorry, it's just a lot because I know, because they're such little baby space legions and they can't even feel fear, but obviously he's going through this. He's only a little baby, really. In the rhino, get in the rhino, Cowles was bellowing. The sergeant grabbed one of Navarre's arms and started dragging him to the transport. I can make it, Navarre snarled, pushing himself to his feet. He stumbled a few steps and hurled himself onto the rhino's ramp. The impact sent another shuddering burst of pain through his body. Command, command! Cowles' voice over the vox was almost lost under the pounding in Navarre's ears. Urgent evacuation needed. All raptors are down. I repeat, all of the raptors non-combatant. I know, came Brand's terse reply. It's happening across most of the squads. No assistance available. Get them back to Ravendelve as best you can. Navarre felt himself bodily lifted into the rhino, seeing the helm insignia of his sergeant through a crazy patterning of hyperinflated blood vessels in his eyes. He was dumped onto the floor, landing on top of another raptor. The marking on his shoulder pad rim marked him out as Devalier. Navarre saw Devalier tearing at his helmet, trying to rip it free. After a few seconds, the seal snapped, and the helm came off, tossed away by the frenzied raptor. He found himself... Why do I get so emotional? This is also meant to be horrible, I think. I don't think it's meant to be sad. He found himself looking into a pair of inhuman eyes, almost completely red, save for pupils that had shrunk to dark pinpricks. Navarre was gripped with horror as he saw veins and muscles pulsing beneath blackened skin. Devalier cried out, and in opening his mouth revealed another row of sharpened teeth erupting from his gums. Corrosive saliva dribbled onto his chest plate, hissing and spitting where it fell. The rhino jerked into motion, rolling Navarre to his back. He stared up at Sergeant Cowles, who was crouched at the open ramp, one hand held to the brow of his helm as he shook his head in disbelief. Sergeant, the words were difficult to form, Navarre's tongue feeling swollen in his throat. He held a hand out towards Cowles and noticed long claws had broken through the fingertips of his gauntlets. Sergeant, what's happening to me? Cowles looked at him for several seconds as if he had no answer to give. Then he stepped closer and stooped over Navarre, clasping his deformed hand in his own. Stay strong, Legionary, said Cowles. Remember who you are. You are Raven Guard. Oh, I just knew it was going to happen, but it's so brutal. And the way they make it happen to the baby Space Marines. And, yeah. So here we are now, part 3, Monsters and Martyrs. So I just feel so sad, like the Raven Guard didn't have a chance. Oh yeah, good night, Kittred, thank you so much. You know, they got to Ispan, they were sadly beaten. They managed to save a few, and then because of the Alpha Legion, the whole hope of the new Legion was thwarted. Well, actually, we know that the Raven Legion goes on because I know that the Raven Guard have 40k legions. But it's just the tragedy of this. is, yeah. Anyway, welcome to the most emotional Horus Heresy reading ever. Thank you. I just didn't want to read that by myself because I don't know, I'm very emotional for lots of reasons in life at the moment, just thinking about the frailty of human life, etc. And I didn't want to read that bit on my own because I just really feel for the baby raptors. Like, and when you think about the background that they came from, this planet that they fought to free themselves from, what a life. Please God, let me only ever live in Dragonlance times and not Warhammer times. So anyway, thank you chat for those of you who stayed. Tony says, Promethium is Warhammer fuel, also used as a weapon, napalm-like. Thank you, Tony. I do know the Promethean thing. I just hadn't heard of it being used in that way. Jen, I nearly mentioned Naphtha, and then I remembered that's his Dark Materials, not Warhammer. A lovely trilogy, Jen. I haven't read the prequels. Kitrid, isn't Promethium just what they call petrol? I used to think of it as being a fuel from an actual element. But I think Arbiter Ian said it was petrol or something more mundane in his weapons videos. Well, Ian knows all the things. Tony says, I think it's like Petrol Plus. Kitrid, I really want to read a Space Marine story that really focuses in on the actual transition from human child to transhuman killing machine. Do you? Do you really, Kitrid? Robbie says it is sad. Thank you, Robbie. Kitrid says, I get emotional because I care. That's true. Jen says, all the examples I can think of are bits of stories rather than full tales. I think we should petition Arbiter Ian to make a video all about it. I couldn't stomach it, but Ian probably knows how, why, you know, all the things. Slacker at large, good chat. Robbie says, I can't comment as I'm not sure what is spoilers, but it is very sad. Well, I will try and temper my soul. Alex, I was gutted for the Raven Guard after this. They've been through so much already. Yeah, I guess in the long term of things, you know, looking ahead, I think I'm on book 16 of like 60. And I know I'm in a Grimdark universe. I am so old, you know, I cannot continue to be eternally surprised by the increasing darkness. The last book was called Age of Darkness, for goodness sake, but it's going to be tough to continue to read books where authors write these characters so masterfully that you feel for them, even if they are like minor little raptors. So yeah. Okay, I think that's a good time to say goodnight to everybody. So thank you so much for joining. If you would like to support the channel, you can you can join the Mirror Manga YouTube membership, or you can Patreon me, or you can even just do a like and subscribe, and send me positive comments about things to look forward to in the Horus Heresy. We always find joy in these books, particularly in the writing of them and the teams that created them. And I think it's good to have emotions, because sometimes humans just need to have them. But yay, thank you so much all for joining me here this evening. Robbie, I'm so glad we got to do a live that you were part of. Yeah, and thank you so much, everybody. Have a fabulous rest of your bank holiday weekend. Happy Easter. Emperor protects.